Hi, I'm James Sulkowski. Welcome to another free art lesson. Today we're going to talk about the five planes of light, and since I like the old masters, I like to talk about the concepts that they used. So I have basic shapes here, which is a great way to study the five planes of light. See, I have a cylinder, I have an egg shape here, and I have a sphere and a cube. So these are all the basic shapes that are found in nature, and we need to study the way the light falls on each shape and to really understand it, to paint a portrait or a still life or even a floral, and frankly even in the landscape. So let's talk about an egg, for instance. And I have this vine charcoal. It's a soft charcoal, and I like to use it because once I put it on, see what I can do. I can just wipe it off very quickly and easily, especially if I don't like the way I placed it on the canvas. So let's do that. Let's sketch this in, just the shape now. The egg is probably the most difficult shape to draw and paint. See, now we're going to talk about the way the light hits this egg. So it's coming this way, so the shadow will be on the left. See, we need to break it into light and shadow. So let's do that. I'm going to take some gray here. This is ivory black with white. And I'm going to go over that. See, once I do that, I can take a dry brush and wipe that off. Now let's get a shadow value. And we'll put the shadow on here. The shadow on the egg is the same as the shadow on the table. Okay? So let's do it this way. The first plane is going to be, we're going to put the shadow first when I paint this. Okay? Now just so you can see this better, see this shape better, I'm going to put a dark gray behind the egg. Okay? Very simple. Now let's get another brush and we'll paint the light. See, the light will be this value of gray that's the same value as cadmium yellow light. See, so I have two ideas here. Just two flat ideas. So let's put that in. We'll say light. Now, there's a plane between the light and the shadow. That's called the middle tone. And just for the sake of demonstration, let's take another brush. And I'm going to take a gray that's about cadmium red light value. You know, I did a lesson on the palette, and I'll talk more about that if you want to learn more about this. So, see, now I have 1, 2, 3. Let's blend those. I could take another dry brush to blend with. It's a good use of a dry brush. You know, you don't. It's a lot easier to blend with a dry brush sometimes than with a brush that has paint in it. See, so let's just gently blend those together. So, you know, we're building a third plane there. So let's write that one down. We'll call that the middle tone. So now what we need is a reflected light. See, the light that's coming back up under the object, whether it's this egg or a portrait or an orange, you know, we need the reflected light. So that's actually going to be, we'll call that a yellow ochre value gray. Comes up under that egg just like that. And frankly, the reflected light can be as light as we want it to be as long as it doesn't compete with the main light on the object, like that. And then I use my dry brush to blend with. And I start out with my shadow brush. So I could go back to that if I want to increase the shadow again. I lost it a little bit, so I can go back and get it again. Okay. So that's the reflected light. Let's write that one down. And the last plane is the highlight. So we'll get our lightest gray, even up to white, and we'll put the highlight on there. You'll use pure white for that. Okay, now just to give this a little more depth, I'm going to put a lighter gray behind the egg. See, when the light is coming from the right, the background is darker on the right and lighter on the left. This is classical lighting. And really you'll see the shadow of an object right here can disappear into the background, which helps to give it an atmospheric feeling. See, so this is all part of the classical painting concept. This is probably the most important shape in nature, the egg. See, let's do this. Let's get a little more reflected light in there. And then here's a value, a darker gray, sort of a raw umber value. And I could put it underneath this object. And this will help it to lay down. See, I'm going to go back one more time with that reflected light. So this is the way you'd paint the egg. Also, the sphere is the same, this exact same concept. So with light, let's put that highlight down here, okay? Here's highlight. That's the last thing you put on the object there. So every object should have the 5 planes of light. Now look at we'll do a cube here. And I'll show you the similarity between the cube and the cylinder. The cylinder could be a cup, you know, a teacup. It could be the neck on the portrait. But we have to understand the the planes in order to simplify the shape. So see, we'll say once again the light's coming from the right. So here's a shadow. To paint these in black and white it's a good idea because it keeps it simple. We don't worry about the color. So we'll do the same idea here with this cylinder. Just divide this in half. That's a similarity. We'll talk about the difference as we go along. So here's our light brush. We'll block in the light. You know, the way I paint, I like to have the object in front of me while I'm painting it. I don't paint from photographs. Just because of that, just so I could see the light. Okay, that's there. See, now this, we'll do the same thing here. I don't think enough attention is paid to the basic shapes. I think this is like homework, but it's always good to keep practicing this. The tops of these objects are a little bit lighter, so we'll just throw in a lighter gray here, and a lighter gray there, just to cover that. Okay, now let's get into the more detail here. See, I made a flat shape there. There's light, there's shadow. See, when the light comes into a cube, it comes in this way. So it'll be lighter and it gets darker there. So let's take that yellow ochre value gray, put it in here, and work it towards the shadow. See, this is how you get depth now. And the same thing for the cylinder. It's just a softer edge. And this actually the same value I have here will go next to this shadow. And then we blend it together. Even I could get another dry brush and blend that. See, there's a soft edge to that cylinder, see? So that's where these two differ. Now we'll take some light to build the light, because we talked about highlights. So for a cube, the lightest light is on this corner. And then it blends back that way. So for the cylinder, we'll put the lightest light right here. The highlight will be right there. See? So those are the 5 planes of light on the basic shapes. Let's just throw a little shadow. See, this cube would have a shadow going this way. And remember, the shadow is it's always the same. It's going to be the same. It's not darker than this shadow. But the shadow unifies the object. And if you're doing the figure, the shadow unifies the whole figure. So those are the 5 planes of light as they apply to our basic shapes, which are found in everything in nature. So I hope you got something from that lesson today. I'm James Sulkowski. Join me again for another lesson, and if you want to see more of my work, go to jamessulkowski.com.